Relationships are very key aspects of our day-to-day living. In today's session, we talk about being intentional in developing our relationships. My name is Joyce Dairu and you're watching Intentional Living. When I think about relationships, I think about bank accounts. Relationships can be compared to emotional bank accounts. It is important for us to be intentional in building emotional bank accounts with people. Because if you do not have a bank account deposits with people, when the time comes of withdrawing, you may have nothing to withdraw. What we find with many people is that they want to withdraw in people's lives who they have not deposited anything. So being intentional about depositing in people's lives before you have a need to withdraw from them. People feel abused when the only time you want to interact with them is when you want something from them. I'm sure you have interacted with people who only call you when they need something from you, and you actually feel abused. Other people will even overdraw their account. They have not deposited anything, but they want to keep on withdrawing and withdrawing and withdrawing, and that is how relationships are killed. The first and the most important relationship is the one that you have with yourself. How do you relate with yourself? Most of us have been socialized not to value relationships with themselves. They do not value themselves. They will tell other people yes when they are saying no to themselves. The most important relationship is the one that you have with yourself. You cannot pour from an empty tank. So you have to keep on building that relationship that you have with yourself. How do you go about that? First and foremost, by knowing yourself, self-awareness. When you know yourself, you know your strengths, you know even areas of weakness, then you're able to accept yourself. Once you accept yourself, then you're comfortable being in your skin. Then you accept who you are, whether people accept you or not. And to me, that is very, very, very important. After you accept yourself, then you gain identity. You know who you are. You do not need other people to define you. Most of us are having issues in life because you met somebody and he defined you in a negative way. If you had a healthy relationship with yourself, then that would not be an issue. Having accepted yourself, having an identity, then you need to build your confidence. You have to have confidence. In fact, if there's one characteristic that an individual needs in life is self-confidence. If you have no self-confidence, how are you going to move out in the world and make a contribution to society? So, I want you to think about your life. What is your relationship with yourself? How do you treat yourself? Are you always telling other people yes as you say no to yourself, and then you deplete your reserves? My friend, it is important for you to learn to tell people no. When you have a good and healthy relationship with yourself, you will not have issues having relationship with other people. And the second relationship that I'm going to talk about is about family members. You have to be very intentional in depositing into the emotional bank accounts of your close family members. One of the things I've seen in the recent past is that people don't value their family members. I think they get used to their family members. And I want to challenge the young people today. Your parents, your siblings are very, very important. Having a relationship with them is very important. Some people will only call their parents when they are in need of finances, when they're in trouble. So if you did not deposit, of course your parent is not going to say no to you, but of course they are not happy. If you're married, the relationship you have with your spouse is very, very paramount. You need to be intentional in building it. Some people live together, yet they are like strangers. They have not invested into the emotional bank accounts of each other. And actually we are seeing a lot of that. People are committing crime in the family. That trusted person becomes a person who will be aggressive on you, and that is as a result of not being intentional in building close ties with your spouse, with your children, with your siblings, which is very, very, very important. And once you build ties with your family members, including the extended family members, your uncles, your aunts, your grandparents. And as I talk about grandparents and parents, it is important for us to understand that these people are here for a very short time. So let us leverage, let us value the time that they are with us and have positive relationships with them. As I talk about healthy relationships, I know some of us are hurt by close family members. And one of the things I keep on insisting is, first and foremost, forgiveness. Forgiveness. And I must say that forgiveness has nothing to do with the other person, the person who agitated you, who treated you unfairly. Forgiveness is about me. Why? Because resentment, on the other hand, which is the opposite of forgiveness, is like drinking a cup of poison and expecting the agitator of the unfairness to die. Of course, you're carrying the burden, and that burden is going to bring other issues later on in life. Having talked about self and family, the third kind of relationship is one of friends. Here, I must be very intentional to tell you that we have different kinds of friends. And here we need to identify our value system so that the people we are allowing into the circle of friends can be people who we agree with, especially in the areas of values and beliefs. There are people who you should not allow to even get into your car. They are called car park friends. You leave them there at the car park. There are people who will be close to you. They can even come into your home. Others can come into your house. Others can come even into your bedroom. Those are different kinds of friends, and you have to be very intentional, knowing who to allow where, because some friends you may allow them into your inner space, and they will hurt you more than giving even that kind of friendship. The other important relationship that we need is the relationship in our communities. Some of us are in professional professions that people are in a community. For example, the community of engineers, the community of doctors, the community of nurses, the community of farmers networks. It is very important to know that those relationships are our place in building you as a person. So you have to be very intentional. For example, in some of the careers that we have here, you can only be employed or given business if you are a member of a certain community. I can give an example of engineers. In our country, you cannot be given a job or a business if you are not a member of the regulating body that is a community, and you have to be very, very intentional. If it is doctors, they have their body. If it is farmers, they have their body. If it is whatever career there is, you need to identify people of like-minded, people in your field who are like-minded, and join that community, provided it ascribes to your belief system. Remember, as you work in the community, you need to also make contributions to society. And that is why it is important for you to join communities of people who are offering community service. I have people who are joining Rotaract, which is a good community of people who are like-minded in offering services into the community. We have people who are going to plant trees to conserve the environment. Those are people who are minding the environment, and many other groups of community of members who are making a contribution to society. There are people who are offering services to people in prisons. That is a community you can join. But again, I have a caveat here. It is important for you to join a community of people who have something that you are passionate about. Because many people who join these clubs is just membership clubs, and they have no passion about it. Remember, your network is your net worth.